حي على الفلاح.
Among the prophets between Sulaiman and Zakariyyah is Isaiah Ibn Amoz alayhi salam. After Sulaiman's death, revolts broke out over who should be king. The Bani Isra'il split into two: the kingdom of Yahoodah, Judah in the south, consisting of the tribes of Yahoodah and Binyameen, with Jerusalem as its capital, and the Kingdom of Isra'il in the north, consisting of the other 10 tribes, with Samaria as its capital. The Bani Isra'il had gone through many reforms, but had become corrupt along the way, forgetting about the great privilege of being chosen by Allah. The Prophet Isaiah prophesied during the reigns of Uzziah, Azariah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, who were the kings of Yahoodah, Judah. When Hezekiah came to the throne, he was the greatest king to ever reign in the southern kingdom of Yahoodah. He began ruling by removing the high places and breaking down the pillars and cutting down the idols. Hezekiah was one of the few kings who was constantly aware of Allah's acts in the past. He had a closer relationship with Allah, one who did what was good and right and faithful before Allah Almighty. The Assyrians, the dominant world power at the time, had already conquered the northern kingdom of Israel and many other nations, and now they threatened Yahoodah, Judah, in their threats against the city of Jerusalem. The Assyrians openly defied the God of Judah, likening him to the powerless gods of the nations they had conquered. King Sennacherib, Sargon's son and successor, began a series of major campaigns to quash opposition to Assyrian rule, turning first to Babylon. Then he marched eastward into the Zagros Mountains, defeated enemy forces, and took tribute from distant lands and peoples. Sidon fell, and its king fled across the sea. Soon, other cities and kingdoms submitted. Ammon, Moab, Edom, and other offered gifts and kissed the feet of the Assyrian monarch. Turning to the east, Sennacherib overwhelmed Philistine, Ekron, and suspended the bodies of its rebellious leaders on stakes throughout the city. Sennacherib annals also record that the former king Padi, a pro-Assyrian vassal who had been expelled by his own people and held captive by Hezekiah, was returned to his throne in exchange for payment and recognition of Sennacherib's overlordship. Hezekiah was now caught in a dilemma. The threat of Jerusalem's destruction before the relentless march of the Assyrian army was real, but the Egyptians had offered help. According to the biblical account, Hezekiah relied on the advice of the prophet Isaiah, who urged the king to believe in the power of divine protection. The prophet Isaiah was respected as a prophet of Allah, and King Hezekiah made Isaiah famous in the land, and his prophecies were encouraged. King Hezekiah would always listen and was obedient to Isaiah and what he advised him to do and prohibit for the good of the state. Affairs took momentum among the Israelites. The king became sick with an infected foot. While he was sick, King Sennacherib of Babylon advanced towards Jerusalem with 60,000 men. The people were greatly terrified. The king asked Isaiah, "What did Allah reveal to you regarding Sennacherib and his army?" He replied, "He has not yet revealed anything to me." Then the revelation came down for King Hezekiah to appoint a successor as he wished, because his end was at hand. When Isaiah told him this, the king turned to the Qibla, the direction faced, in prayer. He prayed, glorified Allah, invoked him, and wept, weeping and invoking Allah, the all-powerful and majestic, with a sincere heart, trust, and patience. He said, "O Lord of lords and God of gods, O benevolent and merciful one, whom neither sleep nor nodding can overpower, remember me for my deeds and my just judgment over the children of Israel, and all that was from you, and you know it better than I do. My open acts and my secrets are with you." Allah answered his prayers had compassion on him. He revealed to Isaiah to tell him the glad tidings that he had compassion for his weeping and would extend his life for a further 15 years and save him from the enemy, Sennacherib. When Isaiah told this to Hezekiah, his disease was healed, evil and sadness departed, and he fell prostrate, saying, O Lord, it is you who grants kingship to whomsoever you wish, and dethrones whomsoever you wish, and elevates whomsoever you wish, and degrades whomsoever you wish, knower of the unseen and the evident. And lo, you are the first and the last, the manifest and the perceived. You grant mercy and answer the prayers of the troubled ones. When he raised his head, Allah revealed to Isaiah to command the king to extract the water of the fig and apply it to his sore, and he would be whole and cured. He did so and was cured. Then Allah sent death upon the army of Sennacherib. In the morning, they were all corpses except Sennacherib and 5 of his companions, among them Nebuchadnezzar. The king of Israel immediately sent for them, put them in shackles, and displayed them in the land for 70 days to spite and insult them. Every day, each of them was fed a loaf of barley bread. After 70 days, he confined them in prison. Allah then revealed to Isaiah that the king should send them back to their country so that they might warn their people what would happen to them. When they returned, Sennacherib gathered his people and told them what had happened to them. The priests and magicians said to him, We told you about their Lord and their prophets, but you didn't listen to us. It is a nation which, with their God, nobody can overcome. So Sennacherib was afraid of Allah. Sennacherib never recovered from the shock of the disaster in Judah. He made no more expeditions against either southern Palestine or Egypt. He died 7 years later. Hezekiah's life, for the most part, a model of faithfulness and trust in the Lord. His faith was more than superficial, and his bold reforms show. Hezekiah's trust in Allah was rewarded with answered prayers, successful endeavors, and miraculous victory over his enemies. When faced with an impossible situation, surrounded by the dreadful and determined Assyrian army, Hezekiah did exactly the right thing. He prayed to Allah. Despite years of being faithful and obedient to Allah and abolishing pagan worship in Judah, Hezekiah displays a lack of trust in Allah. Hezekiah became proud, and he failed to remember the goodness and kindness Allah had shown him. When the Babylonians heard word of the king's illness, the infected foot, Marduk Baladan, the son of the king of Babylon, sent letters and a gift by envoys to Hezekiah. Hezekiah had great wealth and honor from the Lord, and Allah had given him great success. But Allah decided to test his servant, to know everything that was in his heart. Hezekiah failed that test. In pride, the king showed Marduk Baladan's ambassadors all the precious things in Jerusalem, and he showed them all his treasure house, the silver, the gold, the spices, the precious oil, his armory, and everything in the palace's arsenal. There was nothing in his house or in all his realm that Hezekiah did not show them. Once Prophet Isaiah heard about this, he went to King Hezekiah and rebuked him for his foolish pride that now endangered Jerusalem and the Bani Isra'il. The prophet Isaiah made a terrible but accurate prediction. Everything Hezekiah had shown the Babylonians would be taken from him and brought to Babylon. Even the king's descendants would be taken to serve as eunuchs in the Babylonian palace. Ibn Ishaq also reported that when King Hezekiah of Israel died, the Israelites' condition deteriorated. There was political confusion and their wickedness increased. Isaiah preached to them what Allah revealed to him, directing them to righteousness and warning them of Allah's severe punishment. His preaching made him their enemy, and they decided to slay him, so he escaped from them. The southern kingdom of Yahoodah, Judah, had their moments of glory during certain times after this, but it was just a matter of time until the seeds that had been sown would reap a harvest of destruction. Judah would come to an end, and Jerusalem and her temple would be destroyed under King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. Isaiah had prophesied throughout this whole time period and even spoke of the coming kingdom of Isa alayhi salam. Ibn Ishaq also reported an Israelite interpolation which said that when Isaiah was passing by a tree, it opened and he entered therein. But Satan saw him and held onto the loop of his garment so that it stuck out. When they saw it, they brought a saw and sawed the tree and him with it, and Allah knows best.